Hello, my friends. This is Amanda from ElyriesEmbers. I've got a very cool metaphor I want to share with you guys today. Thank you for being here. Quick blessing. May your heart be open and may you receive light and may you feel all the love that you're looking for. Blessings for you guys. So I wanted to share with you guys today about cockleburs. And if you don't know what they are these very curious little thorns. Aren't they something? So I want to give you guys a little bit of a story from my childhood about how this cocklebur medicine relates and how I started having an experience with cockleburs here on this planet. When I was young, I had this amazing mentor who was an elderly lady and she had horses. And I was just so enamored with the idea of all things horses. And I loved riding and I loved being around them. I loved the smell and just the feeling of the animals and just being with those creatures was just so magical. And so I got to know this lady and she took me under her wing and we became very good friends, and she was just a sweet mentor to me and taught me so much about horses and horseback riding. But one of the first things that she taught me was that you have to groom the horses before you ride them, that it's not just about riding the horse, it's also about caring for the animal and seeing that they are in a good state to go riding before you ride. And so this is where I started coming into contact with cockleburs. The horses would be out on the pasture and they would come in from the pasture where all of these weeds are and all this stuff is growing, and they would have cockleburs kind of all over. Sometimes it'd be on their stomach, like where you're going to put the cinch for the saddle, and you'd have to really check that, make sure. Or sometimes it would be up in their mane or their tail, and oftentimes you wouldn't be able to really see where a cocklebur was. So that's my first memory of encountering one of these little stickery burrs, is running my hands down a horse's tail, grooming it with a brush, and snagging my palm on this cocklebur. So I remember the first day that this happened and I caught my hand on this burr, and I remembered saying to my friend, like, whoa, what is going on? What kind of, we called it a sticker, but I was like, what kind of sticker is this? This thing is huge. And she's like, oh, we call those porcupine eggs. It's just a cocklebur. And you just hold it really gently and kind of pull the horsehairs out from around it and they just fall onto the ground. So she taught me this cool technique of getting rid of the cocklebur without wounding yourself on it and without pulling out the horse's hair and without embedding it further in. But that was so cool. It was one of my first experiences with cockleburs, and I wanted to bring that around and tell you guys. So here's how I think that cockleburs are bringing us a message for today and for our healing. And as annoyed as I was as a child with learning about cockleburs and grooming horses and getting my hands poked up, it's really cool, and I'm really glad that I had that experience, because knowing this now, it makes it all worth it. So the first thing I wanted to tell you guys that I've been thinking is that there is us and there is the cocklebur. You know, Spirit recently said to me, Amanda, are you thorn? Are you cocklebur? And I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm Amanda, I am Elry, I'm not a thorn. And then it hit me, the meaning of that question is so potent, that we are not our wound. We, I think, start to think that we're the same as our wound. You know, oh, I am depressed, or I am weak, or I am not good enough, or I'm abandoned, or I'm a failure. And we start to identify ourselves with those wounds because of how they have sunken in and how they have traumatized us. But there's a distinct difference between you and your wound and the thing that wounded you. So in whatever instance that you might see the cocklebur in your metaphor and in your spirit life, I just wanted to let you guys know that I thought that was so cool, that we are distinctly different, just as I'm a human and that's a cocklebur. Lesson number 2 from Cockleburs and from my mentor that was so sweet to me is you hold the cocklebur gently. You don't grasp onto it and you don't move your hand over it quickly. You hold it gently and with respect and with care. And I think that this can translate into our wounds, because when we hold our wounds gently, it's just so much better off. We are preventing more wounding to ourselves. We're preventing more wounding to others. When we hold the wounds of other people gently and with respect, we're also helping preserve them as well. And so, just a really cool thing I think the cockleburs can remind us of is to hold them gently, hold the wound gently, hold the thing that wounded you gently, and that is what allows you to release it. When you hold the wound gently or the cocklebur gently, you're not grasping onto it, that's what makes you able to finally release it for real, to let it go and to let it drop down, fall away to the earth, where it can be transformed and turned into something else. And that's, I think, exactly the same thing as our wounds. The tighter we grip them, the more embedded they're going to become, and the more one they will seem with us. It will seem like part of our identity. The harder that we hold on to it, the harder that we grip on. So hold those wounds and cockleburs gently and with an open hand. Another lesson I think that I learned and wanted to share with you guys about cockleburs is that we don't go around collecting cockleburs, right? We don't make a habit of that. In fact, they're very hard to find for this video, and I had to special order them online because almost nobody's selling them. They're weeds. When we get identity with a wound, and these cockleburs are all so sticky and they kind of stick on to each other and to all kinds of things. And I think it's the same with our wounds, that we have wounds that are also sticky, and they start to kind of morph and grow when we're not giving our healing attention to them. You can develop infections, say, in this wound. So just know that you don't have to be the collector of wounds. You can release these wounds, and they don't have to be your identity. And, that's just something I've really been working with Spirit on as well, too, is that, Amanda, you're not the cocklebur. You are Amanda, and it's okay to hold it with an open hand and hold it gently, and it's also okay to set it down. We don't have to go around and collect them, even though that's something we have to actively work against, is that these wounds do attract other wounds, and they do attract themselves and get on us. It's just part of life. It's just part of life. But it's not something that we have to save and collect and carry with us forever. It is possible to have healing. Cockleburs are so magical because they're bringing us this medicine and this lesson in this form, so that it gives us this tangible example for these wounds that we have that are sometimes so intangible. When you have a mental or psychological or emotional or spiritual wound, it can be so hard to pinpoint or put your finger on it sometimes. And I think that's something that's so magical about our 3D experience here on this earth, is that we have so many things in nature around us that are here to help us, and that all of this is for you, and it's here to support you. And when we look at it in that way, I think we find so many magical things that will help us with our pain. So, to sum up this video about cockleburs, let these little curious, amazing, pokey creatures just remind you to begin to separate your identity from the wound. Who you are is not the wound. Who you are is not the wounding agent. Just keep that straight in your mind, that these are 3 distinct things. You, the wound, the wounding agent. They're totally different. They're not all one and the same. and enter healing. Begin to enter healing with that thought. And again, hold all those wounds, hold those cockleburs gently. Don't grasp onto them. Don't hang on tight. Don't, run your hand callously over a cocklebur or over a wound. Your wound and other people's wounds, treat them with respect, treat them with curiosity, and that will give us a totally different understanding and help prevent more wounding. And also when we do that, it helps prevent embedding. It helps prevent that wound from just embedding and solidifying and getting infected and staying. It helps it be released and move through and rise to the surface for healing. And also just remember, wounds attract other wounds, just like cockleburs stick to each other and to hair and sweaters and fur and coats. Just remember that wounds attract more wounds, and ego will feed off of the wound. So just remember that. And allow the release of the wound and embrace your true identity. That's, I think, a huge gift, a huge gift. I just want to say thank you to the spirit realm for bringing this lesson to me, and thank you to you guys for listening to it, because I just thought it was something that was very cool. Well, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.